Welcome to the next episode of the Practitioner's Edge, the FICPA Small Firm Suite podcast. Today, we have another special guest with us from CPA.com. We have Chris Cromer, who will be talking with and having some questions for him to tell us more about what he does and part of his organization. So, welcome, Chris. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Dan. Looking forward to this. This is great.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it as well. I've been a CPA for well over 30 years, and I have done a lot of different things in my life and been on and off members of the AICPA, and obviously tell us more about that. But let's start with this question. So in 60 seconds or less, tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your passion, especially as it relates to CPAs.
Sure. So I'm originally from upstate New York, a little farming community. Came out to the Silicon Valley in the late 1980s. So started off at a company owned by Simon and Schuster. It was in educational software. And through that, I've just spent my entire career through the dot-com boom and bust, working in technology, big companies, small companies, and the last 15 plus years, it's been focused on the CPA profession and working in that area. Although I am not a CPA, I'm a technology person, but that's really my passion is about the technology, managing the technology, helping other companies adopt, use, and advance their online presence and services. So that's kind of me in a very fast nutshell.
Super. Yeah, well, I totally understand, especially technology is here to stay. AI is very big. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that today. So what I'm going to ask you then here is how would you explain what you do to a CPA if you were doing your 30-second elevator speech and having a discussion with a CPA?
So how I would explain it. So I'm going to use the organization. So we, CPA.com, are the operators of a top level domain called .cpa, which is restricted to the CPA profession. You have to be a licensed CPA or CPA firm in order to register a .cpa domain. So if you're not familiar with top level domains and domains, just think of .com, but instead of .com, we're .cpa. And the other thing that makes us unique is that the vast majority of top level domains, and there's over 2,000 of them right now, is that the vast majority of them are all open, unrestricted to the public. And in any of those top level domains like .com, you get a lot of abuse, right? So you're going to get cyber squatters as well as cyber criminals that are going to register domains there, particularly the lookalike domains, right? So if I register Cromer.com, it's easy for somebody to come along and register like Kramer and or maybe reverse two letters and then attack my clients that way by having this lookalike domain. It's very, very common. So the great thing about .cpa is there's no cyber squatters and there's no cyber criminals because we verify every single registrant to make sure that they are a licensed CPA or CPA firm. So there's not just a uplift of security there that you don't have to worry about somebody attacking you through that method, but there's also a great uplift of availability, right? So now you have, without all the cyber squatters there, you've got all these great high quality domains available only to CPAs, and that's a real big advantage when you think about the branding game and what's gone on over the past decades of companies paying millions of dollars just to acquire a very short, high quality domain. Now CPAs have some of these best domains available to them at a very low price.
I can definitely attest to that. When that came out, what was that, about 2020, 2019, somewhere when the dot CPA came out?
Yeah, we launched in 2020.
In 2020. So yeah, so when that first came out and I saw that, I went and I think I got three domain names. One obviously being my firm name, what I was using for my particular firm, and then because I specialize in IRS representation, more specifically collections representation, I went and got a couple of domains with that. But since then, I've sold my practice, and I really didn't have the need for them anymore. So I kind of just let them go, and they had a couple of good resolution related domains there that are now for the taking out there. So my next question then, because you are here representing obviously CPA.com, and so what I want you to give me, and you've been with the organization for a while from kind of what I've gathered in our conversation before we got started today. Tell me what's the origin story as of CPA.com? Who got, as we say here, got bit by the radioactive spider or gotten when the gamma rays to create the product service of CPA.com and what it offers to CPAs?
Certainly. So both CPA.com as well as the .cpa top level domain were the inspiration of Barry Mellinson. I mean, we all know who Barry is, past CEO of AICPA. So specifically .cpa domains, he saw this opportunity to protect the CPA brand and designation because in 2012 it was known that they were going to open up the top level domain address space and let organizations run their own top level domains. This is something that just never happened in the past. It was always controlled by a very few number of companies, the entire internet domain space. So now they were going to open it up and advance it so that it could grow and there'd be a lot more opportunity for companies to brand themselves. So Barry saw that. He saw the opportunity there to really help CPAs by locking down the CPA top level domains so that other companies like, oh, I don't know, Google or some of the other ones that are specialized in the domain space, from them getting it and then letting anybody register any name in .cpa, that would diminish the CPA brand. So very highly motivated to get that, to win it, and then bring it to market and do it in a way that's called restricted. So if you think about .com, it's an open, unrestricted top-level domain. .cpa is restricted. You have to be a licensed CPA or CPA firm. It's very similar to .gov, right? .gov, you have to be a U.S. government institution. So there's a really good benefit there with .cpa and how we've brought it to market.
Okay, super. So what would you say is the mission vision of CPA.com in a simple sentence or two?
Okay. So CPA.com, the mission of CPA.com is to find technology solutions and bring those to the market to help CPA firms navigate what is the latest transformational technology. AI, we're heavily into AI right now. And obviously back in 2012 with this shift in the top level domain space, that was an opportunity we wanted to take advantage of as well. So yeah, CPA.com, all about bringing technology solutions to the CPA profession. And then the mission really of .cpa domains is to provide the profession with the best quality domain names that they can brand on so that they don't have to do partner names that can be really long. They don't have to put CPA in the domain name because they've got like .com or .net or .org at the end. Now you've got .cpa at the end. You can just be, and I'll give you a few examples. One stop .cpa. So rather than one stop CPA.com, one stop.cpa. Dark Horse, instead of darkhorsecpa.com, just darkhorse.cpa. You know, when you think about the impact, how people search for businesses, how they search for services today, it's all online. That online presence is more important than ever. And when you're looking at a group of links in a search result, who are you most likely to click on? You're going to click on that catchy, memorable name or one that resonates with you. When everybody listed there is a couple of partner names, it's kind of hard for any one of them to stand out. But if you use a really cool, catchy, memorable name, particularly in .cpa where they're available, it really helps firms stand out and it helps them compete in this space when other firms that have more better financial backing to go out and buy million-dollar.com domains, this makes it much easier for CPA firms to kind of compete in that way.
Right, yeah, that's why when I got mine, I did my firm name. I think I did Dan Henn's. I had Dan Henn CPA, so I didn't need to do that. I could just do danhenn.cpa. And then the other one was, I think I did IRS tax debt help.cpa, because obviously that would be a good name for me being handling the representation side. So super. Thank you for that, Chris. So now, when you work with small accounting firms specifically, what are you seeing as the most common challenges that they're having right now, as from your perspective, what would deal with them?
On the branding side, it's a technical thing as well as an artistic thing, right? So when you're trying to build a brand, you have to be thinking about not just what is the name, but you have to be thinking about your website content. You have to be thinking about your marketing strategy. How do I like I can buy this cool name, but if I have an ugly website, does that really help me? So when you're thinking about your brand, you have to be thinking about all the facets of the brand, and that's where the smaller firms tend to struggle because they don't have those dedicated marketing resources to help them through that. So that's kind of one of the big struggles that I think I see the most is people not really having the skill set around the marketing area to know what cool catchy name can I get that would really make sense, and then how do I market that and really kind of bring it all together with my website to really get the clients that I want and grow in the areas that I want to grow.
Yeah, and especially speaking as a marketing expert that teaches licensed tax professionals how to deal with that particular aspect, especially the small firms. That's been my typical focus, and time is usually one of the biggest factors, money being another factor in terms of what they have to deal with. And because of both of those, they end up trying to do all of these things by themselves. And there is a strategy, there is some process to it. So like you said, having a domain name and having an actual website, although I'll tell you that an ugly website is better than no website. And so we'll definitely start with that. But the better that you can make it, and especially with today's AI tools, it's mind-boggling on some of the things that we could do. But that would be a whole separate rabbit hole we would could get down with that. So let me give you the next question. What's the biggest misconception small firm owners have in the area that you specialize in?
That's easy. So what we get questions on all the time is, does my firm name have to be an exact match to my domain name? We get this question all the time. And in most jurisdictions, the answer is no. So, and I'll use one of your Florida firms, onestop.cpa, as an example. He started off as Brian Davis. He's done an amazing job. He started off as briandavistax.com. That's the name of his firm, and wasn't really growing how he wanted to grow, felt that he could do better with focusing on the client accounting services side and kind of getting a different type of clientele, not ones that were kind of trying to negotiate on price, but more on service. And so he rebranded to onestop.cpa, doing business as, right? So he's briandavistax.com doing business as onestop.cpa. So you don't have to have that one for one match. And it's funny, we do get that question all the time. There's a firm in Wyoming, Vincent Scott. Their website is jacksonhole.cpa. And there's hundreds of these that I could use as examples, but you always need to check with your jurisdiction first. I always have to say that, but in almost all cases we've seen, you do not have to have this exact match domain name to firm name.
So there are a few states that don't allow that. Is that what you're kind of
Possibly.
alluding? Okay.
Possibly. We've heard those rues are always changing, the advertising
Right.
rules in the States, so I can never say with 100% certainty.
Right.
That's why
Right.
I have to caveat that to say, "Please check first." But in general, we've really not found that.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Many of us, especially from the tax, or even for that matter, the financial statement audit perspective because we have 50 states plus all these other jurisdictions like DC, Puerto Rico, Guam, that everybody's kind of got their we are uniform in a lot of things, but there are probably way more that we are not. So I can totally agree and understand that. That's some of the challenges we deal with. So next question, can you give me a practical example? I mean, I guess you've kind of already given me a couple of success stories on how small firms use the tools, resources, services that you guys provide at CPA.com. And so I'll add this. Is there anything else that CPA.com offers that would be a help? And then give me an example or two.
Absolutely. So there's multiple dimensions to this. So on the specifically on the .cpa domains, what you're going to find with us is that we're going above and beyond to make sure that when you get that domain that you're able to implement it, you're able to use it. That's not an experience that you're going to get when you buy a GoDaddy domain, right? You go to GoDaddy, you buy a domain, if you try to get support from them, it's I think you understand, you probably already know what level of support you're gonna get. But we're going above and beyond. We're making sure that customers are able to implement it and be successful with it. We've had great success with that. What we do that I think is also unique to us is we also have this free .cpa starter site. So when you buy a .cpa domain, we've set up this free starter site. If you want it, you just log in. We take the information that you gave us when you registered and we pre-populate it into this one-page template website using your .cpa domain. You can customize the content all you want. We have loads of features on there, everything really that someone would need to launch and start a firm. You have a link to a client portal. You've got links to your social media. It's professionally designed. You can customize the images. It's just a one-page, simple website, but it looks very professional and has all the features you need. So that's kind of unique to us as well. And then kind of more on the larger CPA.com side, Brian Davis, once again, onestop.cpa there in Florida. He's now moving away from tax and we have a lot of services we offer around the Cass area. He's taking advantage of those as well. He's also launched because he's been so successful with what he's been doing on the rebrand and growing his firm. He now has
Right.
time. He just launched a community as well. So he created this community called the Growth Lab, and where he shares how he grew the tech stack that he's using, the processes, and basically everything that he's gone through. And he's using growth.cpa as the online website for that. And so yeah, I think there's a lot of great stories we have with .cpa, and there's a lot of services outside of .cpa that CPA.com offers as well to help your firm grow.
Yeah, so you've told us a lot to this point. Is there anything here, or if you could give me one thing that the solutions that you guys provide that somebody would be surprised to learn about, that feature that gives the biggest reaction? I mean, I like the basically the website builder, and so I'm going to give you another ancillary question to that. So because I'm fairly technical. I can do a lot of things and plug and play without instructions because I've grown up. I even at my age I still grew up with a computer on my desk. When I think I first got my first computer when we were 10, and so I'm fairly technical. So for those that aren't, and I found that many tax professionals are not very computer technical oriented. So what is the one big surprise, and does this website template builder that you have, is it easy for somebody who's not very technical oriented to use?
Yeah, I think you can attest to this. Building a good-looking website is part technical skill and part art. My wife, she was a photographer for a while, and we both could technically take a picture of the same thing and the lighting would be right, all the tech specs would be right, but hers would always look 10 times better than my picture because she had that artistic ability. So yeah, so websites are part art, part science. Same
Right.
thing with search engine optimization, a lot of other things. So yeah, the .cpa starter site, we take a lot of that technical part of it away, right? So we make it just so easy for you to launch this website. You go in and like I said, you just put in a little info. You don't have to do like you would normally do on a website builder someplace else. You would be doing DNS updates, you'd be creating all of your own content from scratch, you would be choosing the design and the images. We've done most of that for you already, and then we have this template that comes out, and then from that base, now all you have to do is say, yeah, I want to replace that image. I'm going to reword this paragraph. I'm going to customize my services to really match what I do here and say this about me, enter in all these things that are custom about me. And I didn't have to do any one thing technical or creative, right? We've taken the creative part out of the equation by having this professionally designed template. We've taken the technical part out of the way by automating that whole part. So all you have to do is just go in and, like I said, write about yourself and your services and anything else is custom to you, and you got a website in 10 minutes.
Right. Well, that's great. And I'm sure if you spent maybe another hour or two using AI to help as your backup, whatever your favorite platform is, to help create some of those paragraphs and other things that it gets to know about you would make it so much easier and nicer. And yeah, you there is a lot of the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So again, I can test for myself. I'm as a CPA, as an accountant. I'm not the very creative type, but it's amazing what I can do with AI and it's just mind-boggling with some of that stuff. Okay, so let's get to the next question, Chris. Here, what's one resource tip, best practice you wish every small firm knew?
You kind of already alluded to it, but it's that whole thing about being creative, not feeling like you're stuck having to use a domain name that is an exact match to your firm name. We see all the time, like, especially with partners. Partners can change over time. So you start off with, like, here's a good example. Bober Markey was using, I think it was bobermarkey.com. They brought on a new partner, so it was now Bober Markey Fedorovich. Now think about how long that domain name is,
Wow.
.com, right? And
Yeah,
then how hard it would be to get bmf.com. So, but we brought .cpa to the market for, and they recognized right away, this is great. We can get BMF, represent that third partner, and use BMF.cpa, and that's fantastic. So I think it's just knowing about the opportunity that's available with .cpa, and then the other one is if you already have a website, you already have an online presence, maybe you don't love the domain you already have, but it's working for you, you can still benefit from .cpa. When I went home many years ago, family trip back to upstate New York, traveling down the thruway, going through these small towns, I remember seeing all these advertisements on billboards and stuff for tax and accounting services. And
right,
there was one that just jumped out at me that I can't forget to this day, 315tax.com. And so I'll never forget 315tax. And it's great. But when you go to 315tax.com, it's there's no website there. It's a redirect. So as soon as you type it in, it redirects you to their firm website.
right,
And it was some other name, I can't remember that name, but you can use .cpa the same way, right? If you
right,
have an established web presence, you can go get something that's cool, catchy, memorable that you advertise with so that when you show up in search results, you've got this cool, catchy name that is going to make you or help you stand out from everybody else using partner names. Then that just redirects back to your existing website. So there's lots of ways that you can use .cpa. You don't have to stress out about, oh, I got to completely redo all my website. I have to completely redo all these other
right.
things. You don't really have to do that. Technically, it's much easier than you think.
Yeah, no, and I had that same thing. I mean, when I mean, I still have danhenncpa.com, but it was advised to me to go get Daniel Henn CPA and Dan Henn just danhenn.com. So having a bunch of those different domains, and I'm not going to have a website on each one of those. And it's really not that difficult to go and redirect it to, and it's a little technical, but even then it's not that difficult. I mean, especially if you could go to my friend AI, as I call it, and just type in how do I redirect my domain name. It'll give you the instructions, and if you tell it who your host company is, it'll even give you specific how to do it for your particular company. So
People with that all the time too on our it's not like some of these bigger companies like GoDaddy where you kinda get into this general support where they're very limited in what they'll help you with. We help people all the time with, just all sorts of weird technical issues that they might have, whether it's email, their website. We provide all sorts of support because we really want everyone to have the best experience with this and really get the value out of it, and it's easy to just let one technical issue that you can't get past derail you, so we wanna really help people with that.
right. Well, that's great. Obviously, again, as I said, there's a lot of people who don't have the technical knowledge, capability, and having some a resource for them to go to. So let me ask you one more detailed question before we get into some of the wrap up phase. What is a technology or trend that you should say that every practitioner, especially small practitioners, should be paying attention to now? Because obviously, being a technology guy, I try to pay attention, put my finger on that pulse. What's the one thing that you would say that they should be really looking at or using or doing?
Everybody says AI, and absolutely everybody should be looking at artificial intelligence, but as well as AI and all of the great things that are potentially coming out of that, there's other evolutionary things happening as well in other areas of technology. So, domain names, for example. In 2012, like we talked about earlier, they expanded the top level domains by around 1,500. And that's happening again in 2027. So starting next year and going out probably a decade beyond that, there's going to be another flood of more top level domains hitting, launching, and starting up. So you're going to see a much bigger, more diverse, more vibrant internet than we even see today. So that's happening. If you look at domain registrations as a whole, .com, .net, .org, they're going down. They're actually losing registrations. It's kind of like the first time ever over the past couple of years, while these newer top level domains are actually gaining and growing. So I think it's important to recognize that there's definitely this evolutionary shift uh, going on in the branding space, to not be afraid to try a domain in one of these new TLDs. You're going to find that there's a lot more available. A domain that you might actually love rather than what was left over in .com before. I think that
Right.
whole it has to be .com, that ship has kind of sailed now with everybody using .ai and .co and .cpa and a bank, etc. So
Okay, super. So if there's any, is there anything that we didn't cover to this point that you want to make sure that small firm owners know?
I would say just to when you're thinking about your firm name, to be creative and bold. Where some of these examples we talk about, One Stop CPA, Dark Horse CPA. I'll give you another example. JenJCPA.com. Her firm name was always Answers Accounting, but she could never get a domain that was even close to the word answers. There was all cyber squatters sitting on them. So when .cpa came out, she got it right away and moved from genjcpa.com to answers.cpa. So there's that opportunity is out there. We still find a lot of people. We talk to them and like, oh, I didn't know that .cpa was even a thing that was there, and I'm like, we
Right.
market this. We're advertising all the time. We market. I can't. So yeah, just to recognize that .cpa is there. It's a resource, a dedicated resource to the CPA profession. It's exclusive. So please consider that. If you're not really in love with the domain name that you have today, to don't let the opportunity slip by. Get what you really want in .cpa.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this combo question. So first, tell me how people can reach out to you or to the organization. What do you want them to leave with this?
So the best way to learn more about CPA.com and .cpa web domains is to go to our website, obviously, CPA.com, or if specifically for .cpa, you can just go to domains.cpa. We have a lot of resources there that help show all the other firms that have successfully migrated to .cpa, how they're using it, not just the domain, but the other aspects of running a firm as well. The process is really simple. You can go there, type in the domain you want, search for it, and then it's a little different than registering a .com where it's just instantaneous because we have to verify you and your licensure. It's you're
Right.
submitting a form, and then we will either award or reject it. Thankfully, we get almost no rejections. Everybody coming to .cpa is licensed. We've only had like a couple that we've had to reject. But yeah, you fill out the form, submit it, and then the rest of the process is pretty standard, just like with any other domain. It's in your registrar account, and then you from there you can set up a website, email, and like I said, we're here as a support resource as well. If you run into any difficulties, you can reach out to us through the support channel on our website, and we've got people standing by just ready to help.
Okay. Super. So here's the last question. What's a book, podcast, or resource that's had a real impact on what you do or how you think that you could tell us and share?
Sure. So there's a survey results that come out from an organization called Remarkabrand. So your domain name and your website and your email, that's all, it's communications, but it's also all branding. You think about your domain, it's like this is something when you choose your domain, you really should be thinking this is something that's used with every email I send, every website visit. I'm really going to get a lot of use out of this thing every single day. Make sure you do it the best. And so there's this report called Remarkabrand, and it's specific to, and they give a lot of great branding information, what other firms are doing, how they're marketing themselves, how much money they're budgeting for marketing, how they adopt technologies, what are their biggest issues. It's a great report that comes out every year that is available for purchase, and I highly recommend it. It's a lot of very valuable information in it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go check that out myself because it's I'm always interested, especially from a marketing perspective. I want to thank you, Chris, for being here and taking your time to help us understand and know more about the CPA.com plus the .cpa brand. Like I said, I've known about it for almost since the beginning, and that's part of the purpose is to help get that word out there. So again, thank you for taking your time to be with us here today.
Thanks, Dan. It was a real pleasure. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, super. Well, thank you very much for that, Chris. And for those of you that are interested, look for more in the show notes below to be able to reach out to CPA.com. Please like, subscribe, or whatever you can about the channel, and please get out there and share this with your friends. And there'll be more to come with the Practitioner's Edge podcasts of the FICPA Small Firm Suite. And we want to thank you guys for being here. And again, thank you, Chris. Everybody, have a great day.